This story right here is actually really sad, man. So there's an Alabama mayor by the name of Bubba Copeland, and he's a conservative, but he was also secretly trans. He talked about it. You know, they found stuff, I guess, of him digitally talking about it, and you know, I saw some articles described him as a secret drag queen. I think he described himself as trans. So I don't know what pronouns he/she they prefer. But so this guy was outed by a conservative media website, and he really didn't want them to release it. They released it anyway, and then he killed himself. It's really sad. So this is in Salon. Quote, "Are you happy now? Alabama mayor dies by suicide after being outed as trans." FL Bubba Copeland, who also served as a community pastor, was outed involuntarily by conservative news blog. Here's what they say. Bubba Copeland, mayor of Smith Station, Alabama, and pastor of First Baptist Church in Phoenix City, was found dead on Friday evening from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after being involuntarily outed as a transgender woman by a local conservative news blog. According to The Advocate, using information sourced from WRBL, deputies responded to a request for a welfare check on Copeland, spotting them driving their truck on a country road near their grocery store. Upon attempting to pull Copeland over, they stopped, exited their truck, and fatally shot themselves. Jesus. Copeland has been struggling after Alabama blog 1819 News reported on Wednesday that they had been engaging in explicit online activities, allegedly posting pornography memes and photos of themselves in women's clothing online under the pseudonym Brittany Blair Summerlin, per The Advocate's coverage, adding that the blog shared screenshots from Copeland's now deleted Instagram and Reddit accounts where they openly explored their trans identity, reportedly discussing hormone replacement therapy in some of their posts and sharing transgender-specific fiction and erotica that they authored. One of Copeland's friends, former Phoenix City School Superintendent Larry DeCharia, commented on the tragedy via statement to Facebook, writing, "Are you happy now? What crime did they commit? Some of you people make me sick. I hope you are all really proud." So I don't know this guy's record. My guess is since he's a mayor, there weren't very many, socially conservative issues that came across his desk. Usually when you talk about social policy, it's more at the state level or the federal level. I don't know if the local level is as much involved in that as much as they're involved in, like, we got to fix these potholes. So I don't know what his record was on all this stuff, but this really makes me sad. Like, it makes me sad because you kind of see the war going on in this guy's mind between, like, what society accepts, what polite society accepts and views as agreeable and acceptable, versus who his true self was or who her true self was. And he could not reconcile those two things. And look, as far as the website goes, I'm sure if they knew he would kill himself, they wouldn't have done this. But they decided to go through with it anyway, thinking he'd be okay and he or she or they would accept it and then be able to move on. But it didn't work like that. The person was obviously tortured privately and wanted to be themselves and come out, but didn't feel accepted and felt like humiliated and embarrassed. And I guess the main takeaway here that we should be pointing out is, like, look, man, all of the culturally conservative brainwashing is just convention, right? It's just social convention. There's no there. It's not like you're actually committing a crime or you're doing anything wrong if you embrace your true self. And so what I would say is, don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Be who you are. Be happy with it. If people don't like it, they can go kick rocks. You'll find people who accept you and love you for who you are and who don't think it's bizarre or weird or wrong. Plenty of people will accept you for who you are and like you for who you are and love you for who you are. And so I do feel bad for this guy. Again, I don't know what his voting record was, but clearly he was tortured and he felt like society forced him to be a certain way. And then it was only behind the scenes when he thought nobody was looking that he could sort of let his true self hang out, and he ended up killing himself, man. He ended up killing himself. And that's just, it's really sad. And so, look, man, I would say the only time that, like, outing somebody is legitimate is if their record is very hypocritical and contradictory, right? If this guy's voting against trans people and coming up with new anti-trans laws all the time, then I get like, hey, look, he actually is trans, so like, what's he doing? He's kind of voting against himself here. Then I get that. But if there isn't that angle of a policy contradiction or hypocrisy, then I would say just leave people alone, man. Just leave people alone. The policy stuff is always justified, but if this guy didn't have a negative voting record and you just wanted to do this story to out him just for the sake of outing him because you're assholes and you want to point left, don't do that. Don't do that. And I hope people realize that you can be yourself. It's okay, and society will come to accept it, and you will have friends and family around you who come to love you and accept you, and it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, the taboo was obviously too much, especially in a very conservative red state like Alabama, when this guy had a public profile as, a mayor who's a man, and he's like, actually, I'm a woman. I don't know. It's just a devastating story all around. Very sad, very heartbreaking. And I'm sure this website now is like, oh my God, maybe we shouldn't have run this story. This was pretty bad. This is pretty dark, and we're at least somewhat responsible, even though we didn't know. All right, guys, that's the show. I love y'all as always. Thank you for listening to me run my mouth. You know the drill. Please click like. Please click subscribe. Please click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time video drops. You can support the show on Patreon if you like what we do here. That link is below. You can also tip on YouTube with the thanks button if you'd like to. That's below. Remember, I've never had a conversation with an advertiser, so you guys build this show from the ground up. I truly, truly appreciate it. You can also support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. And you can listen to the show as a podcast if you like. We release an audio version of the podcast on Spotify every time we do a show. And that's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.